everybody. Welcome back again. Nice to see everybody's faces again. I have the sign-up sheet for tonight. You will notice a new column in this sign-up sheet. It says text group, yes or no. This is basically telling me if you want to be part of a text group. If we have an event where we need some people to come down and man the warming center, then you'll be part of that group and you'll get a text from either myself or the chief. Okay? So, start here, we'll go around. So we usually plan these things pretty far out. And we did plan this one, it's been a couple months probably in our Tuesday morning meetings. And it turned out to be super topical for this week, power outages, it couldn't be better timing, I guess, to have power outages,
Yeah.
So.
Wake everybody up.
Yeah, so. Do anybody else online?
We do have a couple of online guests, and I don't know if down.
Oh, we're recording this and we're just sending out a Zoom also for people that can't be here. So everything's gonna go smoothly, right?
Technical difficulties, please stand by.
Yeah, one of them has gone every week on Thursday at 10 o'clock.
Okay, so I have a disclaimer. I am not a power outage expert. Everything we talk about tonight is going to be my ideas, chief's ideas about best way to prepare for a power outage before the power outages happen, during the power outages, and after the power outages. All the products that you're going to see in this presentation are just Google search. I'm not endorsing any products. I have bought some of them personally, but I'm not endorsing any of them. They're just here for examples. So what concerns do we have about a power outage? Well, first of all, telephone lines go down, right? We know for a fact that after about 3 hours right now in Rockaway, the cell phone tower goes down and we can't make phone calls in or out. Water and sewer services. I just talked to one of our public works employees yesterday and he told me they're pretty solid when it comes to water and sewer services during power outages. They have generators at all the pumps that will run by themselves for about a day and a half before they have to be refilled with food. So they're working pretty good. Transportation systems are a concern. If you ride the buses may not be running that day, so that might be a concern also. Closure of fuel stations. We're not going to be able to fill up our gas tanks. Grocery stores. We can't go and just buy groceries anymore if everything's closed. Retail businesses are going to be closed. And any other essential services. If you get medical supplies, that might not be able to get them at that time when the power is out. Food spoiling. If our refrigerators are not on, our food spoils after a while. So it's really important, we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but having a thermometer in our fridge and freezer to kind of monitor the temperature of the inside during a power outage. So we know if it gets too warm, then we might start thinking about me in the throat to toss that food out when it's all over. And then how are we staying warm during these power outages? Do we have a way of keeping ourselves warm? Do we have a fireplace in our house? Do we have some way to use electric blankets or something, or are we just using blankets? These are all things we need to think about ahead of time now. Other concerns, how are we using our medical devices such as a CPAP machine, right? If we can't power them, how are we storing our medicines? A lot of medicines come, like insulin, for example, has to be refrigerated. If power is out, our refrigerated medication may get warm and they may go bad. So these are all things we need to be thinking about ahead of time. So before the power outage, how can I prepare for a power outage? First off, we want to take inventory of the items that you have, that you need, that rely on electricity. Start thinking right now, what items in our home do we have that we need that are essential for us to have power with? A lot of people use, the oxygen machines now. A lot of people on CPAP. We see a lot of, home dialysis these days too. Has to run on power. And of course, coffee. Sorry, coffee is an essential thing in my house.
Yes.
But what else? What other items are in your house that you absolutely have to have power to that you need?
TV,
TV, yeah.
not for me,
I can't argue with you.
not for me.
Communications, right. So there's just lots of things that we need to be thinking about ahead of time, before the power outage. Just preparing for these things to happen. And just, all I'm trying to do here is just get you thinking. And we're just thinking about what we might need, okay? So before the power outage, if you take certain medications or you have medical devices, you should have a conversation with your medical provider about making a plan for your devices that use power. You know, if you have any of those, how are we going to power those? A lot of times your doctor can help you with that. And how are we going to keep our medications refrigerated? That if we take refrigerated medications, and then ask them, how long can that medication be without refrigeration? We should have a plan for our batteries, alternate power sources, and then lighting. How are we gonna light up our houses at night? This is actually, I know I don't endorse this, but my wife and I just bought this one. This is a solar generator. I know you're thinking solar, it's cloudy here. How's it gonna work? Well, the answer is, I don't know yet. I haven't really got to use it yet, so, we'll find out. But there's also portable generators, alternative power. These ones are kind of neat. They have, dual fuel ones now, so you can run regular gasoline, you can run propane, whatever you have at your house available to you. The portable ones are relatively expensive depending on how big you go. But the hardwired ones, generators are pretty darn expensive. You know, not this week when the power went out. When the power went out last time, as soon as it came back on, I called Home Depot. I'm like, I need a generator. So they hooked me up with whatever company they use. And so then I got a phone call from them. They said, we're an hour and a half drive away. I just need to let you know that the price of the generator is gonna be between $15,000 and $30,000. And I said, don't worry about coming out. We're good. Yeah, no, we'll figure something else out. So if it's within your budget, great. It was definitely not within our budget though. So.
How much was it?
15 to 30,000.
That sounds about right. 'Cause,
Yeah,
yeah,
no.
we got one of those Generac, the nice one that powers the whole house.
I'm very jealous.
And it's like,
And that's the full installation price, electrician,
Yeah.
propane and all that.
Yeah, that's the start to finish
Because
price.
the generator is only 5,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Labor these days, crazy
Right.
expensive. You guys,
hi, did it start at 6? Yes. Okay, good. I got my alert at 6 instead of
Oh, wow.
until.
sorry. Well, you didn't miss much.
The generators are important.
Yes. I prefer, when I choose my lighting, I like to have LED first off, and I like it to be rechargeable. The reason why is, I don't like to fumble with batteries. I just want, when the power outage is over, I plug all that stuff back in, it recharges, I put it away. Then I don't have to worry about batteries. Batteries like to corrode, if you don't use it for a couple years or whatever, those batteries will be corroded in your lantern.
With the portable generators too, that's really important too, is they run them all the time. People think they have a generator and say, if you don't run it I run mine every month, a month and a half, because it'll gunk up and.
Yeah, it's
So
like
you
any
have to-
engine that you have, you need to run it every once in a while.
Yeah, so it's real important.
Yeah.
You have them to run.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
This next one that comes up, this is a little plug-in LED light. This is something that we bought. It plugs into any USB plug. It'll plug into your computer. It'll plug in here. We have little battery chargers. It works. I actually, when the power went out this week, I jumped out of bed and I went and hooked all this stuff up as fast as I could, just because I wanted to see how it worked, and it worked really well. And they hang up wherever. Just something that we like to use. Try to make my house as back to normal as I possibly can, even though it's not gonna be for a while. So sign up for local alerts and warnings. If you do a quick Google search on Tillamook County Emergency Management, it will take you to, if it works, it'll take you to this site. The Tillamook County Emergency Management page. And first off, there is a ton of information on this website. There's a lot to see on there. But if you'll notice, let's see. You'll notice right here, emergency alert notifications. Sign up to be alerted about emergencies. Click on that, enter your information, and then you start getting alerts, weather alerts, flood alerts. I've got tons of flood alerts this week on my phone. Just sign up and you'll be part of that too. And then monitor weather reports. We're usually not very surprised around here when the weather goes bad. We usually have a pretty good idea ahead of time if we're gonna have stormy weather, wet weather, snow weather. We're not the Midwest where a tornado could come through all of a sudden, we wouldn't even know. We have a pretty good idea of how our weather's gonna be ahead of time. So it gives us time to prepare, right? We know ahead of time weather's gonna be bad. These are times when we should start getting ready for that weather to be bad, just in case. Which is why we're here, just in case. Install carbon monoxide detectors with a battery backup. Why do we want the battery backup? When that power goes out, your carbon monoxide, if it doesn't have the battery backup, will not no longer work. Carbon monoxide, just as a review, is a silent killer. You can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't taste it, you're not gonna hear it, it's just there.
Thank you.
And useful.
Oh, you already have it. It's just Tillamook County.
Quick Amazon search. There's hundreds of different options. Pick whatever's best for you. They come in like 1 and 3 packs. Really good to have in your house, because you don't want to not wake up because you didn't have a carbon monoxide detector.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
So, something that we talked about, because we bought a home recently and we were getting, everything all set up there. We don't have anything that makes carbon monoxide that we're aware of in our home.
Fireplace?
Oh, another house. Okay, sorry. But anyway, so that does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything that burns.
Yeah. What I would say is, are you 100% sure, or you're 100% okay taking that chance? Right. Yeah, that would be my answer to that.
So if a home, not ours, doesn't have a wood burning thing or a gas burning thing, if it's all electric,
Mm-hmm.
is there something else that makes carbon monoxide?
Not necessarily, no,
It has to be something that burns,
yeah,
burns hard. Candles, anything that burns or consumes oxygen, the byproduct is carbon dioxide.
Could it be a car parked in the garage and the
Oh, yeah.
garage is attached to
Absolutely.
the house?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Generator burning outside the window.
Your neighbor has something and it's blowing in your window, you know, that's why I say, if I'm not 100% sure, I'm not taking that chance. And they're relatively inexpensive, I think the 3-pack, on the picture that I showed was like $20-some for 3 of them, so not a huge investment.
But if you're getting it hardwired,
So the way that is, they plug right into a plug.
oh, it's a plug-in.
Yes. A plug outlet, thank you, plugs right into a plug outlet,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they have.
Aren't they supposed to be at a certain height?
I don't know, I don't think so, but.
Yes. Carbon monoxide is lighter than regular air, so it sinks. So we recommend, I think most places recommend a 5 foot or lower on the wall.
So if it's on a plug-in, a lot of times plug-ins are like.
You're fine, you want it down low.
Okay,
Oh, you want those?
thank you.
Yeah, you want it low,
Okay.
because it's gonna sink down to
Yeah,
that level.
Right, and then,
Yep,
okay, thank you, sir.
you bet.
So important to have the batteries for every, or not batteries, I'm sorry, flashlights with batteries for every member of your family. So when the power does go out, it's next to their bed, they can get to it easily. So when they get out of bed, they're not gonna fall, they're not gonna trip over the dog and, fall and crack their head open. And then we have a medical emergency also, right? So important to have flashlights for every member of your household. At least 72 hours of perishable food and water for every family member, including dogs. It's a big one for me.
Or cats.
Pets, sorry. My mind goes, I have dogs, so my mind goes to dogs. But that's just a minimum, 72 hours. You can have as much as you want. Make sure, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry,
No, it's good.
another question.
That's okay.
About the water. When you have these big, gallons, multi-gallon things of water, is that something, like you were saying about your generator, that you should, empty out and refresh every, whatever? I mean, how long does a thing of water last?
Oh, shoot. We had the gal out last month, and I don't think we asked that question. How long we should refresh that, did we?
Okay, well,
Depends on what containers.
Yeah.
Container.
okay.
I'm sorry, I don't have a good answer
Alright,
for you.
well, that's a thing to think
Let
about.
me do
Yeah.
some follow-up, we'll get back to.
Yeah.
We can Google it.
Yeah.
The thing on that one, your concern is whether it's going to draw all the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard something about putting a little
Yeah,
bleach in it.
yeah, it's a very small amount too.
Yeah, like a quarter of a
Plastic
teaspoon.
leaching into the water.
2 years.
Most of them.
2 years.
Okay.
2 years.
2 years.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, I thought it was quite a while.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
yeah.
Those things-
The biggest, like John was just saying, the biggest concern is going to be, is it's exposed to anything that's going to grow in it. Contamination. Yeah, so that's the biggest concern about the water. Make sure we have our phones and any electronic devices that we need, make sure that they are charged also. Make sure we're filling up our fuel tanks, not only our car fuel tanks, but also propane tanks if we use propane for things. And again, monitor the weather. If the weather's gonna be bad, plan ahead. I'm not saying you have to, as soon as we hear it's gonna be windy, you need to run down to Fred Meyer's and fill up your gas tank and empty the shelves, but plan ahead. Uh-oh, power just went out. Power.
Boredom.
All right. Twiddling your thumbs. Nancy,
I was thinking Darius.
Maria? Yeah, and that's the darkest room in the house.
Yes, it is.
Trying to fumble your way out of there, I'm sure. So during the power outage, really important to keep our refrigerators and our freezers closed. That way we're keeping the coldness in. Refrigerators on average can last up to, can hold their temperature up to 4 hours. Freezers up to 48 hours. I like to take ice packs that I keep in my freezer, put them in my fridge to keep that fridge cold. It extends that time out. Essentially, your refrigerator turns into a cooler, you know? And then again, thermometer in there to make sure that we are not getting too warm. And I'm gonna talk about the temperature in just a moment. So let's talk. Oh, sorry.
Well, I've heard if you don't have a thermometer,
Mhm.
I've heard you can take a quarter and put it in on one of the ice cube tray sections, that's
Okay.
frozen, and then if the quarter melts and it's down on the bottom of it, then you know that your freezer is just
Yeah.
really warmed up.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Good tip.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about gas-powered generator dangers for a moment. They produce carbon monoxide, as we've found out. If they get damp, they can cause a risk of shock or electrocution, just because electricity and water don't mix very well. Make sure that if you are running extension cords, make sure they're the right kind of extension cords. They should be heavy-duty outdoor extension cords that you use from your generator to in your house, if you're not hardwired. Never try to power your house wiring by plugging in the generator in a wall outlet. And what this does, it's really dangerous for our electrical workers that come and work, because it sends that power back into the line. And once it hits that transformer, whatever that transformer is rated for, that's the power that's going to be coming out. It doesn't matter if you're sending out 100 watts, it's gonna be 50,000 watts coming back out of that transformer. So never do that. I'm not even sure how you could. I think you'd have to cut your extension cord and rewire it somehow to do that, but go ahead.
One slide back,
Mhm.
when you were suggesting that, it's not safe to have the generator in a wet location. That
Right,
is
right.
a little tricky.
Uh-huh.
So, so do you recommend because it says a cover,
Yeah,
what kind of cover? Do
so you can buy covers for them. So when I was looking at them on, just went to Home Depot, and you can buy covers, you can have, you can build a cover for it, a little shed to put over it maybe. Just as long as it's able to vent out, I think you should be fine.
If they sell kind of like little tents.
Yeah.
Although the wind we had the other day, I'd be interested to see how well it stood up to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely,
I have a dog that.
a problem, so.
Oh, yeah, that would definitely be a problem.
Okay. Do other people have solutions?
Yeah, does anybody have,
I think you build something like a little doghouse kind of
Yeah.
structure.
That's what I
for it
have.
That doesn't move,
Yeah.
and that's probably the best, or find a place that's undercover,
yep,
but not inside your home or your garage.
yep,
Yeah, we still have our old generator, and so it's like, yeah, somebody built something that goes around it, like a wooden little pack shed, back and open in the back, on our patio, and our patio is covered too, so. Before we got our big generator.
You can get away, just put plywood over the top and put a rock on top of it so it doesn't blow off.
right, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it can be simple.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be.
Sometimes the simple
I have
solution is
seen plywood on friends, like up, around town, you'll see, oh, there's their generator sitting outside, it's got a piece of plywood on top of it. It doesn't look like a very non-wet situation,
Yeah,
but maybe that's what they were trying to.
yeah, that was the
It's big enough
idea.
piece, it'll work.
John,
Another thing on the backfeeding, if you plug your generator into the wall,
Mhm.
and then PUD turns the power back on, your generator is gonna explode.
yeah,
Yep, there goes the circuit board.
yep,
Here comes you guys.
yeah. That's why you get a transfer box installed ahead of time and then do it that way.
So on the subject of transfer switches and transfer boxes, so I just ordered a generator online. And I did a lot of reading.
Mhm.
And the thing that was really confusing for me is the way that generators are grounded.
Mhm.
And if you are running a generator that you're gonna run an extension cord into your house, you wanna ground it one way. If you're running it to a transfer switch, you want it grounded a different way.
Mm.
Sometimes figuring out like that, because we have a transfer switch on our, already on the home.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure I was getting the right one, but it can be really difficult to find out that information. You gotta dig deep into
Yeah,
the
yeah,
spec sheet and all that kind of stuff.
I've run into the same issues.
Yeah,
When I
okay.
was researching.
I didn't know
also.
if you know, talk about any of that.
I am not, because I,
You had
that's
any
not,
good
that is
advice
not my
on that?
wheelhouse.
You know what the advice is? Call an electrician.
Yeah.
Well, that's ultimately what I did, yeah.
Absolutely licensed, bonded, and, you know,
Yeah.
electrician.
Yeah, I actually ended up doing
That's
that.
the whole thing. Yep.
Go to TPUD, if you add a solar, wind, et cetera, a supplemental, energy source to your home, you must contact them, because, again, if something turns back on, or if they are doing work, they need to know because it affects the safety of their workers and that's your home.
And
So if you have
that's
a
straight
generator-
addition, thank you, Nancy.
If you have a generator, is that,
Any outside extra
Oh.
energy source.
The power.
Actually, come to- yeah,
Power in your house.
yeah.
It's probably just a simple phone call.
Sure,
To
sure.
let them
Oh,
know.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Don't store your fuel that you use for a generator in your house. So, you know, you'd be surprised how many people take 5 gallon of gas in their house. Don't do that.
does a attached garage,
It's okay.
It's okay. Yeah, it's not a living area.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then make sure your generator cools down before you refuel it. If it's hot and you spill fuel on there, it can ignite and fire's bad. So, try to let it cool down first before you refuel it. So, avoid carbon monoxide poisoning. We've talked about this a lot. Any generators, camp stoves, you know, the little propane ones that you can use, charcoal or gas grills. Always keep them at least 20 feet away from windows and doors. And then don't use a gas stove top or oven to heat your house during power outage. You're gonna cause lots of carbon monoxide issues. Try to use food that doesn't require refrigeration. So if we're buying ahead, we have food, we can make food that we don't have to refrigerate. But if you need to and you have the capability, cook that food before it does spoil, okay? Check on your neighbors. I know that seems like a really simple idea, right? But it doesn't happen a lot of times, sometimes. But just go over and check on your neighbors, make sure that, especially if you have elderly neighbors or neighbors that can't get out of the house very often, go check on them, make sure that they are, you know, they have what they need, okay? Go to a community location. At this community location, there will be food and beverages, we'll have power, we're gonna have Wi-Fi so you can, for communication purposes. And I just kind of spoiled this next one, but where is our community location at? It's right here. Yep. So come here, and we're gonna, after I'm done here, we're gonna talk about that a little bit. Turn off or disconnect your appliances, your electronics, any equipment that you might use. Make sure you unplug that. And why are we doing that? For surges. Surges or spikes can cause damage to that equipment when that power comes back on. Do we use surge protectors on those?
No.
It depends. Some things you do, some things you don't. Make sure if you're using a surge protector, it's rated for what you're using it for. Okay, on your TVs and stuff, they don't have to be very strong. But computers, all that stuff is very susceptible to surges and stuff. And yeah.
One of the things I found out is like refrigerators and freezers, the newer ones, they don't have any surge protection when it turns back on again. And so what I found is there's a delay box that you can plug the refrigerator into.
Really?
When the power comes back, it won't turn on the refrigerator for about a minute. It waits until it's steady. If it goes up and down,
Yeah.
it doesn't get to the refrigerator and blow
I
it up.
like, I'm gonna look into that.
Yeah, they're not very expensive, but
Yeah.
it's,
Real, can you buy those like at Home Depot or Lowe's or someplace?
actually, I bought it online. They're not that common in the regular stores, but I just went online and looked for time delay power and specifically for refrigerator freezers. In the old days, those compressors were pretty rugged.
Mhm.
The new ones are built pretty flimsily and they don't really survive. What's happened is when the power comes back on, there's usually a giant spark, there's 15,000 volt lines.
Yeah.
And that looks like this coming into your house
Mhm.
until it settles down. It may only last 1 second, but during that time, you've got thousands of volts going up and down momentarily.
Yeah.
And you don't want things connected to that.
Yeah.
That's where the surge protector for electronics is good,
Mhm.
but for the refrigerator and freezer, it's like, ooh, wow, they don't protect for that, not anymore.
I like that. I'm gonna look into that. That's a great one.
That happens every time we lose power and power comes back on. Like the other night, I didn't even know it. Robbie said, oh yeah, last night in the middle of the night we lost power. So it went off and then it came back on. And that's when it came, that's
Yeah,
when.
when it comes back on, see, in many cases, even when the power fails, it goes up and down, because, the telephone pole falls over and the wires cross and it sparks. That creates giant surges up and down the line until it breaks. So during that time, the first time the power drops out, this switch stops and it turns the power off to the refrigerator. So if it comes back on again and off again, it's gonna wait until it finishes doing that.
Yeah. So, no, I'm definitely looking at that.
Yep,
When I get home.
I'll send you a link to.
Okay.
Online,
I have-
Great, now I can share it with everybody.
Can you use that for other appliances also?
Yeah, anything.
Oh, anything?
Yeah, anything it's actually better than a surge protector. The surge protector can only protect a certain amount of voltage and then it blows up itself. Now, that's a good thing because it breaks the line going to your electronics like a computer. But this one is the first sign of any sort of a problem, thing goes down and then the line can do whatever it wants to. And then finally it says, are you finished? Are you steady now? Okay, I'll turn power back on.
What is it called exactly?
It's called a power, I found it under refrigerator power protection, but I was looking for Google. And I don't know if it has an actual name, but its idea is that it will not turn on the power until it's stable. So, and as soon as it drops out, it doesn't wait for any time. It says as soon as there's one single dropout, it turns off instantly.
It's gonna be a big sale on those.
Do you know if a GFCI outlet provides similar kind of protection?
No, the GFCI is
I know it's a
protection
entirely
for
different thing.
you touching a wire.
Yeah.
There's current flowing between you and the current. All it does is protect you from shock. Okay. Yeah, the GFCI doesn't do any of that stuff.
But again, that's a pretty minimal thing. We've all had a lot of power surges in our lives. How many people have lost refrigerators?
Yeah.
It doesn't happen often.
No, it's probably gotta be a pretty, specific event for that to happen.
Yeah, I think they're only $20 or $25.
Yeah,
No.
a lot cheaper than a new fridge though.
Oh, yeah.
Grand.
Oh, and just like that, PUD did the amazing job that they do, and power came back on. We're very lucky here with Tillamook PUD, they do amazing work.
Oh, they're awesome.
Yeah. So after the power outage, when in doubt, throw it out. If you think it's bad, throw it away, don't eat it. If their food gets exposed to temperatures higher than 40 degrees for more than 2 hours, it may be contaminated, might need to be thrown out. If it smells weird, if it looks weird, throw it out. Don't take that chance of getting sick because you ate something that was bad. Discard any medication that might require refrigeration, unless you've either talked to your doctor about it or your pharmacist, and they've said it's okay if it gets higher temperature, or if it says directly on the drug label, that it's okay if it gets above a certain temperature, okay? And basically what it's doing when it gets warm like that is it's kind of diluting it is what it's doing. So if you're taking a medication, you expect to get a certain reaction out of it, you're not gonna get that same reaction because it's diluted down. Replace all those used supplies, everything you used, time to replace them. Plug everything in, plug everything back in, turn it back on, get it going again, recharge all your batteries. If you use a little electric generator like I have, plug it back in, get that get that get it back up to 100%, put it away. And basically we're preparing for the next outage, because it's gonna happen, right? We have them here. They're inevitable here. They're also very frustrating. They can be. But if we are prepared for these power outages, it makes it a little bit less frustrating.
Another question.
No worries.
What causes most of our power outages?
Trees
Trees knocking down power lines.
and cars,
So
cars,
wind,
yeah.
wind.
Wind,
pushing the trees down.
yeah, and it rains a lot, so
Cars
it's
running into
making the ground, saturating the ground, so it's softer than it would be, and the wind comes along, pushes it over, and, you know, usually that first big windstorm we have of the year knocks down a lot of trees that died over the summer. Mhm. So,
Yeah, we had a good one.
yeah.
Yeah, no.
So, any questions? I know we would, I love the interaction here and all the talking, the back and forth that we've had. It's been great. Nancy?
Rain events, they say 2 days plus is when the landslides start showing up. We think they would happen right away, but it's
So
definitely a
after
delay.
2 days of saturation,
Oh, yeah,
And that's when they can really start.
and then landslides will push the trees down.
yeah, that does a lot of it too.
So we could get it anytime now, like.
Good, yeah. John?
Well, I'd like to make a little advertisement, if you will, for the yellow radio program. If there's a big storm and you're out of power and you're cut off for some reason because a tree falls and you can't drive anywhere, and your cell phone is out because our wonderful cell phone people seem to think it's important we have backup. We have what's called a yellow radio, or emergency radio program. And there are only a few people involved in it right now, maybe 20 around the city. But
Yeah,
basically,
getting smaller.
you know, it's a way that you can communicate by radio with the city. It's a program that's set up, and there are neighborhoods. There's one person at least in each neighborhood who is sort of they're called a net control person. If there's an emergency, they're gonna be listening to their radio. If you have an emergency, you can get on your radio and you can talk to them, because they are supposed to be listening if there's an emergency. And they, in turn, can get in contact with the city, and if you needed an ambulance or something like that, and couldn't call it because your lines are down and the cell phone's out, that's how you could get it. And we are going to be trying to advertise this program and get more people involved. And it's a backup. It's sort of like, at one time, your cell phone was back up to the landlines, they went down, but we can't be dependent on that. The tower up there should last for several days, but only last for a few hours. I don't know when they're gonna.
So let me tell you what my goal is and then mulch you. So I wanna put on a yellow radio class. I wanna take a class. I don't know anything about yellow radios. That way we can get more people trained on yellow radios, more people involved, right?
The training part is gonna be easy.
Yeah.
And we got all the information for that. We tell people where to get the radios. The important thing is people have to understand what it is. They have to be exposed to it and know why it's a good thing to have. But somehow the city has got to get out to everybody here and say, if there was an emergency and you had to communicate and your cell phone is out and you don't have a landline, what would you do? Well, this is a pretty cheap and very reliable way of calling for help.
Yeah.
They used that up in Manzanita years ago when the water spout came upon the
Mhm.
land. Oh, yeah, and
Yeah.
everything was torn up. Yeah.
You were up there.
I was.
Yep.
So John, when you say the city, I think that is the.
That's us. Yeah, he's talking about us, and that is my job, that's part of my job, is to get that information out there so we can recruit people and build, our goal is to build all these programs that we're doing up and make them as best.
Because we always talk about the most important thing in an emergency, and it's gotta be communication over everything else. So you can get the right service to whatever you need, or the right answer to the question. And it's just been following up. We got up to about 30 people last year at the height of our yellow radio, and then it just really dropped off again. Now we're lucky to get to 20, and we call in once a week, Sunday nights, that's something we can talk about too in the future, about whether adjust the day to do it. Cause I know the hams do a Thursday night too, don't they, John?
Yeah, out of Manzanita.
Yeah, so it's important to
Yeah.
coordinate the yellow radios with the hams, so that the hams, in a big emergency, the hams are the ones that can get tell the government what we need.
I'd like to talk with you, John, afterward. I'm still having trouble with my yellow radio. I can call in, but just very few people can hear me.
I'm here, you're right.
What
Yeah.
zone are you in?
And so there's something wrong, whether it's antenna or, I don't know.
Probably location, the main thing.
Could be location. Sometimes your antenna might not be long enough to. target.
Well, I mean, I'm in the same spot all the time. You know,
I'm sorry, where do you live? I don't know your address.
I'm south of Washington Street,
Like
a
Victoria.
block,
Oh, that's like,
and I'm right in line with the
You hear the
tower.
repeater okay?
we're almost 14.
Mm-hmm,
On channel 121, you hear that okay?
mm-hmm. And I've called in and, Mrs. Porter
Yeah.
forwards my, you know, that I did call.
The first thing you can try is find out what's going on. You have a long antenna for your.
I do.
Okay. Well, if you're tuned to the Rockaway Beach channel, channel 121, and you broadcast and let go, you should hear it come back. If it hears you, it'll talk to you.
Well, I usually call in on channel 131 or 113, 113, 13.
It should be 121.
That's her zone.
That's, but my zone,
Sounds.
Oh, your zone.
My
Your
zone.
is 13.
yes,
Okay, that's fine. But what I'm saying is, if you had to talk to somebody and nobody's listening, try channel 121. That's the
Right.
repeater up on the hill.
right. It was just during my call
Do you
in.
try to step out your door at all when you do that?
Oh, yeah, I walk
The
all over the
problem
house and around.
The problem is, the people who have been the net control for channel 13 are me and Harry Luck. And we live next to each other.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, neither of us are gonna hear you, basically. And the problem is, we're over the hill a little bit,
Right,
not line of sight.
yeah,
That's the problem.
okay.
And that, for that reason, you have to relay. It's sort of like the old British Navy. The admiral is in the back ship, and somebody in the front ship has to talk to him. He has to have a ship off to the side. This guy signals that ship, and he can be seen by both people. That's-
Line of sight.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, thank you
Yeah.
very much.
I just want you to know, everybody to know, that is one of our goal is to make that bill of radios as successful as possible. Okay? We wanna get as many people involved as possible, okay? So we haven't forgot about you, it will happen, okay?
Maybe we can put.
Are you showing off your radio?
Not all the radios are yellow, by the way.
They're not all yellow.
So 13.
One last thing real quick, I just wanna let you know that next month, Tillamook, PUD will be here, doing a tabletop exercise about electricity. So the experts will be here next month, so.
And answer some.
And any of these questions, there, I know I've gotten lots of questions over the last, several months about electricity. Save them for next month, because these guys will be able to answer your questions way better than I can, okay?
One thing about the shakeout, I took my go bag up there,
I
I did
saw
the
that.
whole thing. Then I went back and says, you know what? I haven't touched that go bag for a year.
Mhm.
Are there expiration things inside?
Mm.
So I went and I opened up everything, the food,
Yeah.
and then I found the batteries and I realized every time we have a shakeout, which is a good idea to do it,
Change your
replace those
batteries.
batteries.
Yep.
They're still probably okay, but put
Yep.
them in the
It's-
flashlights or put them in, you know, the
It's like
mixers.
changing the batteries in your smoke detector every
Exactly.
time change.
Yeah, so it's a good way to do an inventory of what you've got in your
Yep.
bag.
That's a good one. So he went home after the shakeout and, he uses the shakeout as the time to, swap out supplies, refresh all of this stuff.
Mhm.
That's really good advice. So,
Are we gonna go over shakeout stuff that you guys?
Yeah, we'll,
We
let's
probably
get
should.
some time on the next meeting.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll bring you
We'll-
back some
yeah, well,
lessons learned and tips for the
We got a lot of work to do on that still.
Yeah, and I got a bunch for you tonight too. Whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, but one of the items on the list was to get with John and Jeff and talk about that radio group. And I would say we have a lot of exciting things going on with the city, and as you can see, like tonight, recording this and putting it on our city website. Well, we've also placed like the power outage algorithm, some tips, and what to do in the event of a power outage, how our shelter opens. They're currently on the city website under our emergency management tab. But radio, I thought maybe we could make a nice flyer, just with one of the words you just used. What would you do if the power goes out? You can make it very simple, something to catch people's eyes, let them know that, hey, we're recruiting members for our radio group, and then some of the why it's important to have a radio group. So I don't know if you want to design a flyer, or have us design a flyer, or a combination thereof, but I think we should do something sooner than later.
Well, I think if they want me to design it, we definitely need a conversation.
Absolutely, right. But there's 3 distinct groups here doing the same mission, but we each have our own little input to it. Radio, CERT, and preparedness, all 3 are working together to serve the same goals and take care of our community. Sometimes they overlap, sometimes they don't, but I think radio is probably the biggest lacking area right now. We've got a great preparedness group, we've got great people that are, getting ready to do CERT, but the radio is kind of tapered off. So any input you would like to give, if you want to come into the Tuesday morning roundtable even, or just meet with Captain Grace or myself to give us some information, we'd sure take it right now. Now that we've got more rain and weather events, it frees more of our time up to be able to facilitate the needs. I would like to also talk about this. Well, I guess I'll stay on task, the city website. Like I said, we do have a power outage algorithm on the website. If you would all review this and get back some input, the one biggest question I have is, what is the threshold? When do we activate our shelters?
Yeah.
And I heard this a lot this week as we were talking, especially after yesterday. I was sitting in my office, working on some things, manning the phones that weren't, were up and working yet, and all of a sudden the power goes out. I thought, wow, now the clock starts ticking on how long we can communicate with each other through the cell system until we get that repaired. So I was wondering, when do I activate? When do I start things? And I really couldn't answer that question myself, and I'm leading you. So I thought I would like some input. I have 12 hours on the power outage, and I think that's way too long. Maybe 4. I can change this real easy, but what's consensus? Go ahead.
I think 4 is better.
Maybe
But I think
situational.
It needs to not be just power outage, and there were numerous homes flooded yesterday.
Correct.
And I went out about talking to people, and I saw people who were just either in their car in the middle of the street because it was a dry spot, and other places because their home had water in it, and they couldn't get in their homes. And they didn't know where to go. I sent them to City Hall and sent it to you guys, because I thought you all were out helping people, so I.
We were doing a little both, and as Penny will
So
tell
I
you in a
think
minute.
we need to look at multi-reasons to open a shelter, not just a power outage, is what I'm saying.
Right, and so that leads me into what I was gonna go to next. I have 2 other situations. The next one that will be up on the website, and the algorithm for that is the flood, and I will place a 4-hour or as needed. We have somebody at the station reporting almost immediately when these things happen. So the station is staffed if we see somebody come to City Hall, and we can let folks know that. But I think the 4-hour algorithm, especially when it was flooding yesterday, I saw the same thing. We did have one walk-in yesterday. I would say we'll call it a soft opening of our shelter, and tried some of our, because we had ladies showed up just soaked to the bone
Yeah.
and needing
I
help.
was here.
And, and we were able to help. So I would like to adjust that to a 4-hour trigger point, but that leads us to the next question. Who wants to be part of the warming shelter? We need to know who wants to actively participate in the shelters, so we can call the Nancy's or the Sue or the Terry's and say, okay, you have first shift, Kathy. And I need you here, we only need 2 people, or we need 3 or 4, but we need to know who wants to be on that list, because you can't run it for 3 days. But the 4 of you can run it for 2, 12, 12, 12, 12. So I need to know who wants to actively be part of that team, and we will communicate activation and shifts.
That's the text group check mark.
And we found out yesterday, I'm not picking on Kat, but I found out yesterday that we don't have a very solid text group. And we need to be very solid in who we text and we communicate with. Everybody should know, hey, even if I was working with the county yesterday and the fire chief and the emergency manager, and we formed 4 separate text groups in a hurry, so we could communicate the 4 different points that needed to be made at all times. We were active. This group needed to have this, and this group needed this, but we were working together. So we're gonna do that same thing here. But I need to know, and you're gathering that information tonight, right? Okay. We will prepare for some text messages, and I'd like to hear responses as we develop this and see where we're short, where we're long, where we're, redundant, whatever it might be. So that was the second key tonight. I'd like to update everybody that we did have, I did order a whole bunch of supplies for our shelter. I had 2, Penny and Terry today help, and we cleared out that closet right behind there. And there's a refrigerator in there that's powered all the time, and a shelter unit.
It's a freezer.
Okay, freezer, and a, 38 degrees, so I think we got an issue.
Yeah.
But,
Oh, it's 11 degrees.
oh, that changed. We'll have to make sure it works. But we do have shelving in there for dry goods, and it's on wheels. You can wheel it out here and show everybody. And we started putting some of the supplies on there. We started real basic: coffee, tea, soups.
We got a lot more water.
This is just most of it's over at the station right now, but granola bars, hot cereal, and enough supplies that, we could get by for, I don't know exactly how long. But there's a lot of supplies here. The kitchen, we have a kitchen that's powered. So we're gonna have a group that volunteered today of Terry and Penny, and they volunteered Kathy to help them. It's gonna go through and put all the supplies that have been purchased onto here, inventory them, and keep a running supply tally. Next month, we'll bring that out again, tell you what we have, and see what the input of the group, where we need to focus more resources on. So we made a lot of progress this month. I feel that at least if something happened, we can at least get hot beverages and the granola bar down people and charge your cell phones. That's a big step forward for us.
And use Wi-Fi on your phone.
Yeah, you have a lot of different, resources here. It's warm. We like to say, we tested it yesterday and we're able to help an elderly lady that I hope we did a great thing yesterday for her, but we got to test it. She got hot cocoa and granola.
And a poncho.
And a poncho, yes.
Just super quick, Chief, for power outage or threshold time, could we include water also just in case there's a compromise?
Yes, and also at winter weather events, like it gets really cold. We get an ice storm or something, and there's some people that don't have good power, heating sources, that we can activate a warming shelter at the same time.
Perfect, and freezer bricks to put in that freezer, because then if people do want a cooler for their medication or something, we could
It's a good
have.
thought.
That is a great thought.
And could we have like a couple of folding cots, even if they're just camping folding cots?
We have 6 of them right now, but we
Okay,
should
good.
probably get a few more. But yeah, exactly. That's the
There's
kind of,
some people who physically can't sit very long and, maybe they need to lie down and.
Red Cross might.
we found out yesterday, Red Cross is a great organization. Their representative for Tillamook County was south in the flood zone. They couldn't get to us. They could get to us by phone, but they couldn't get to us physically to assist us with any of our needs. They were willing, ready, but couldn't get to us. So we identified that, and we'll work on some things that we might have to have in place until they get there, or can find an alternate.
We just have a Red Cross person with the fire department.
Yeah, so
She was good.
Yeah.
Again, that's more they're volunteers and they work hard, but they're not always available or in your region. So yeah, those items like cots or freezer packs or things like that, please communicate the needs and thoughts, because that's what we're trying to develop here is what our program needs to be here in Rockaway, what fits for us. And, those are
One
two
note
big
about Wi-Fi here, the Wi-Fi actually goes to an underground fiber and it's always on. It doesn't have any connection with Charter or any CenturyLink, none of that stuff. It's always on, so you can always depend on this building to be Wi-Fi enabled. And it's high speed, it's 100 up, 100 down.
And it's been great when we're down completely, that's why we man our fire station. So we have that ability to use the internet and we have a direct communication with 911.
Is that
So-
password protected? And you-
It's right there, and see that it says Wi-Fi there on that
Oh,
corner?
there it is.
Great example, right there.
That's the guest.
Gotcha.
And let's see what else we got. The CERT team meeting is next week, what?
The 12th,
The 12th.
6 p.m. It's a meet and greet.
So, one thing about when you form a new team, whether it be a radio team or preparedness team, it's not only about getting everybody trained, it's about sustainability and making sure the program is gonna be effective. So next week, when we visit with, there's a lot of folks in this room that have signed up for it. We wanna make sure you know what you're getting into and what commitment we're gonna be asking from you. It's definitely a step up in time commitment. And to be effective, it's gonna take a very, strong effort from all those that want to be involved. So, just so you know.
I don't think it's gonna be quite the time commitment some people thought.
Well, might be, but still, you have to be there, you can't pick and choose.
No, I know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the initial cert training is not gonna be that.
Oh, yeah, the training it's a neat training. I took
It
it.
is.
I like the training, I like the abilities that the CERT group has. But it takes a further commitment every month, you're gonna be working and training.
So this Tuesday, December 12th
Yes,
at 6 p.m.
Yeah, we're at the fire station.
and we're gonna do it at the fire station.
Yeah, we're gonna have,
And I'll even bring in cookies if that helps bring people in.
if anybody has any questions about the cert, don't hesitate to contact one of us and we'll do our best to answer your
Yes.
questions.
We did the phone list, city website. I think that's what I wanted to communicate with the group tonight. I did catch all my 8 points. It was a little random, I apologize, but, I like that we made the trigger point change. I think 4 hours. I will update that policy and get it on the website. And then I'll get a flood and a winter weather, algorithm up too. Making progress. Sometimes it feels like baby steps where we step back some, but, we're committed to make this all work. Yes.
Chief, about the radio program, though, when would you actually activate the radio program too?
Ah, that's a great one.
After,
I
I
think-
know you would probably do the morning.
Well, sure, but I
first,
think what
and then-
John says is correct. When the power goes out, it's probably a good time to turn the radio on and listen.
They kind of self-activate them.
Yeah, I think that's gonna have to be the normal activation. We have a radio, obviously it's fire hall, so we can listen to you. We might talk about when we man the tower up on the hill, cause that's got a different, it's got the ham, the 2 meter, is that right?
2 meter, 80 meter.
And 80 meter antenna, so we can communicate with a lot of different places. That's something as we evolve again, that we'll figure out who's gonna go up and man that up on the hill. Yeah, there's a lot to this, but let's make progress forward instead of just kinda settling.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
What's with the cell tower?
So basically.
Okay.
Because it's been a year of trying to get it,
It's almost a year,
Yeah.
well, actually, yeah, it's been a year now.
yeah,
And I just filed a complaint with the FCC
okay.
indicating there's a safety issue for
Yeah.
Rockaway Beach because the cell tower cannot run more than 4 hours.
We've been documenting
Yeah.
everything we've been
Okay.
doing. We've contacted our Congress folks. Everything we can be doing from our end, I believe is being completed right now. Just still fighting a corporation.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious, because I'm thinking, okay, it's been a year and it's still.
It's been
not
doing a lot of
up and
phone
running.
calls.
Yeah.
A lot of phone calls.
But they take.
I just wanted to say, I appreciate reading your statement that you put out on social media. Because
Oh,
I was kind of unaware of what was going on there. I just knew that cell service sure does go out around here.
Yes, because we're just
And so
strictly out of
reading that
battery.
was really informational. I appreciate you, that you put that out
I
there.
would try to keep you all informed, it's not, we're transparent, we're not trying to hide
Yeah,
anything
yeah,
from
yeah.
you, so.
Gotcha.
We're but letting you know, we're working as hard as we can, there's citizens working on it, there's,
Well, the goal is to have American Tower, which owns the tower. Most of their towers that they own, they have their own generator system that can be tested remotely and take a look if there's oil or gas or any of those kinds of problems. The one up here, Verizon elected to put their own generator in, and they won't repair it unless somebody kicks the can or something. I mean, they really gotta be.
yeah, because American Tower has a maintenance program and ready to take care of it, they're more than willing to help, their technician can be there tomorrow probably. But Verizon's the holdup right now,
Verizon is pushing back.
Yes.
which is odd.
Seems like the PR alone.
They don't really
would be,
care because this is a rural area. You
Yeah.
know, only 1,000 customers are losing their cell phone. That's no big deal.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
actually 3 different cell companies that all have the same problem.
Right.
I just filed a complaint with T-Mobile and I'm gonna go after AT&T next, same reason. All 3 of you guys go down because there's no power at that tower.
Yeah.
Really?
Well,
Now you
to us,
find
the
somebody
housing
important.
people, it matters.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question too, so
Yeah.
like, on flood, not everybody's affected,
Right,
there's just very few homes.
right.
But why does the city not have something set up with these hotels? Because at this time of the year, they're empty. That we can't transport these people.
We can sure explore that, I don't
Put it
have
on
an
the
answer for you.
budget, put it on the budget, let's get it on the budget, that there's money allocated for that, so that we can take care of the citizens of the city. That when they're in dire straits and their homes flooded out, that they at least have, not coming here, because this is not comfortable, and sleeping on a cot's not comfortable, but into a hotel that's empty this time of the year.
Well, to that end, what about the vast number of STRs that are sitting in?
Yeah, something,
Maybe you can offer some kind of an incentive to the STR owners for opening up their homes in emergency
Mhm.
situations.
yeah.
Such as, tax incentives or something like that, just as a,
Well,
I don't
sure-
know, I mean, I'm.
Sure, bring that up, I mean,
Yeah.
we're seeing
I mean,
say
if-
no.
And if
Yeah,
it's a,
get people housed is the main thing.
if it's a financial situation, maybe emergency preparedness can do some fundraising for it, so that there's money allocated for it, or, when we do the budget committee.
And Tom, if you could
Yeah.
talk to the city manager about this,
Yes,
and have him to contact our city attorney, because if the city houses people someplace, there might be some legal liability issues.
I think
And,
there
and
is.
just get a clarification. that would
right,
be good.
I think you're on the right,
Mhm.
yeah,
There's an
But
alternative.
that
too.
doesn't mean we couldn't give, like somebody said, the private businesses themselves some incentive to do it and leave the city kind of out of it.
well,
I don't know.
we'll definitely
When does it, I mean,
put those up in
personally,
discussion.
a human being is more important than a stupid lawsuit from a city.
Well, sometimes, you're
Yeah.
right, I know what you're saying,
Yeah,
I know what you're saying.
mean, it's just where's the compassion?
I was gonna say, that's the word I was gonna use, you're a very compassionate person, and are looking at this in a practical manner. It's just sometimes you can do things, sometimes you can't.
Well, even if the city doesn't want to assume the legal liability, there's so many other ways to go around to get the same thing done.
This will definitely start a dialogue with a lot of
Yeah.
intelligent people that
Yeah.
can find a solution.
In 2015, when both ends of town were blocked, the hotel Sea Treasures
Mhm.
put people up there, and the people didn't have to pay for it, that's all I know, so there was some kind of incentive somehow.
Yeah,
For
let's
them,
explore
yeah.
those options, because we should have something in place.
Well, something we should do is contact the Red Cross because they do that for
Yeah.
emergencies all the time.
After talking to them yesterday, wasn't as encouraged as I used to be
Yeah.
with the Red Cross.
Red Cross is
Okay.
not-
There's-
But you're correct, that should be an immediate option.
I mean, they have the funding to
But-
be able to find these places and,
I will
disaster.
have the dialogue with them too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are
They might be-
situations with Red Cross that they.
Yeah,
won't
and they
do
would
it.
be in a place legally to,
So-
accept the responsibility.
We'll start, we open that can of worms, we'll start researching
Yeah.
that, and, I'll bring back to our.
We got a lot of worms.
Yeah, well, we'll bring that report back, so that's why we meet,
Yeah.
that's why we discuss things.
One more worm is.
One more worm, okay, here we go.
is the,
What do you got, Nancy?
The second homes, vacation homes that
Okay,
aren't for profit, but they aren't used very often, maybe there could be some sort of, I don't know, a listing that they would be willing somehow, but.
Well, that's what the gentleman just said.
No, STRs, I'm talking about vacation homes
Just
where the people
Second
show
home.
up.
Second home.
Non-STR second homes, yeah, yeah.
And she just brought up the point, maybe there's some FEMA money to help pay for all of this.
Oh, FEMA's hard to work with.
Oh, yeah.
Good luck on that.
And I do have one more thing to
yes,
mention about
please,
And
please.
this might be something for the Tuesday group to explore too, but I learned yesterday when I was out walking with people, and I've already known this, we're a very transient community. We have a lot of new people moving out, new people moving in. And I talked to people whose homes were flooded, who've only lived here for a few months and have no idea to expect something like this. So my concern is, how does this group roll out this information continually? Like, we go through all this fantastic training, but what about the people who move here 2 months from now?
Well,
or
and
6
that's
months
why
from
we
now?
hope
So how do we keep all of this
that what we're
information
doing with
rolling?
this technology, getting that information, which our city website's amazing, is to get that information out there so we can get that out. And then social media, door to door, your neighbors, your friends, the best word of mouth, put flyers up in the stores, anywhere we have an avenue to get to people, take advantage of it.
Well,
Because
but-
you're exactly right, if you just moved here from wherever last week, then we have an issue of, you know.
But honestly, realtors should be telling people.
That
Okay.
is exactly,
Because they are not forthcoming. I
You
did
know
have
what?
to do due diligence to find out if I.
We had that same issue
So,
on a,
So-
in that realtor, I just moved the area packet.
uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, by the way.
So-
you're not-
so
you're right, because I talked to 2 or 3 people who didn't know, and every one of them told me that the realtor or the seller, neither of them said any word to them about flooding.
And they can come to City Hall
Yeah.
and ask, you know, is this
I
in a
think-
flood area?
you know what?
So,
But the downside of it is that it's happened,
Yes,
and
oh
we
yeah.
need to help the people.
So,
Exactly, because I almost bought a house on like Coral, and then I did my due diligence and researched it out, and saw that it
That's
was
good.
in a floodplain,
That's
so I
it.
went up further, but people also have to realize you're in a coastal town, so flooding is gonna happen. So do your due diligence and see where the house that you're purchasing, where it lies.
Blue and white signs everywhere?
Yeah, so, but the realtors have to,
Well said.
have
They
to
don't.
So,
give you that
I think we
information.
bring up more and more, like say, worms, but, for tonight, I think we covered our topics. I know there's some things that we need to talk about after the meeting in some smaller groups, stuff, but the formal part of the meeting, I believe we can adjourn at this time.
right.
And we can go to some of our subcommittee, kind of talk about some of these things, roundtable some things, but, I think at this time, we'll just end our
Yeah,
formal.
so Penny and Nancy both brought in some of their,
Yes.
emergency supplies, so I'm sure you would love to talk to them about it.
No, we don't talk about it.
But yeah, you wanna get some of the preparedness supplies that are
I don't
over
wanna be
here
on stage.
after the
Look how
meeting,
neat this is.
and,
Those at home.
Yeah.
Plaza.
I know.
so, we'll call this meeting adjourned at 7:08.
Thank you all for being here.
And thanks for being here.
Guys.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.